Hey there guys, Noah here, and welcome back to another Vanguard discussion video. Today, we're going to be going over the reveals for the Luard Stride Deckset, and I am actually really excited because a lot of the stuff that they revealed has premium implications, and you know me and premium implications, my mind starts racing and goes unga bunga, and it's like, duh. But in all seriousness, I'm really excited for these reveals. Let's get into it. I'm going to start with the Crest first because this actually matters quite a bit. And something that I was a bit worried about going into this Crest was that because of the way how they worded it for English, specifically for the Shiranui Crest, technically you could only ride Ouroboros, so feels bad because technically in Japan you can actually still ride Zanki no problem because of how they worded the kanji, but specifically in the West you technically can't ride Zanki, so Nubatama, yikes. And this kind of mindset was giving me a little bit of concern, to say the very least. So the biggest thing with this, I was concerned that it was going to just be you could only ride Dragheart Luard in particular. So luckily that is not the case. You could ride any of the Luards. That means the original Dragheart Luard, Dragfall, the V versions of Luard. So you have options, and that's actually very good and interesting for deck building decisions in premium in particular. Then we got the auto scale, which actually matters. At the end of the turn, if you strode without paying the cost this turn, choose up to one critical trigger from your drop and put it to the bottom of the deck. This matters quite a bit. Now, I was expecting it to be a lot more destructive, to say the very least. I was thinking along the lines of choosing one of your rear guards and giving it original grade 1 or something, but honestly, I'll take this. Like, it means that we can actually afford to run more crits in the deck, and as you'll see later on, we could probably afford to run less stance as a result. So, honestly, this is a pretty solid Crest. The only bad part about this Crest, though, is if you run specifically just the V support, and you don't run either Dragfall or the original Dragheart, this fourth skill really doesn't matter at all. Unless you stride into Agnos, and in which case, what the hell are you doing striding into Agnos? But let's go over the rest of the reels. Starting off with one, which is knees. So that helps because in premium, you can just go ride on top of the V version of Root and then still get the draw 2, so that actually matters. Then Drag Risen Leofaro. When rode upon by a grade 3 card with Luard in its card name, Soul Blast 1, draw card, and then in drop, Ritual 3, when your grade 4 Vanguard with Luard is placed on the Vanguard circle, ditch a card from hand and call this card to rearguard. So, why does this matter? So, this matters in a sense where you can call this before activating Stride skill. And it also helps because what you'll do is you'll go into the grade 4 and then you'll activate Leofall's effect, discard, call it, then you'll activate the Stride scale to retire the Leofall and call 2. So, I guess this is not too bad, but I do hate the fact that you do have to ditch from hand. You can mess around with running Wayward Therapy Angel to make it so that way you can get 2 bodies on the board like that, but I don't know. Like, the problem that I'm seeing with it is, yes, you could run this, but also Blaster Dart kind of gives you in a kind of a weird interaction where it's like, okay, technically, we have to run the grade 0, 1, and 3 the same. However, the grade 2, you can technically run like any grade 2 that you want. You could run the one from the Grand Grace structure deck, or you could run Blaster Dark, which is more the lines of where I'm going with this. Because then that makes your opponent think, damn, do I really want to give this guy Counterblast? Especially if you go first, too. It's like, damn, do I want to give this guy Counterblast so that way he can get the Twin Drive, or do I hold back a bit? You know, and it's that mindset too, so it's like a little bit of a yikes. So either way, like, it's actually not bad. I expected it to be a lot more mid than what it actually was, but I'll take it any day. So then we move on to the rest of the support. So on next we got, you know, Astrasis the PG, you know, so that's actually pretty cool. Then we got Preservation Angel, Rearguard and Guardian Circle, Ritual 3. This unit gets Intercept and Shield +5. I guess in a sense, now you can sit there and just clog up your front row with both of these and then just use them as intercept fodder. It's nice that they're 10k shield, so hey, the more 10k shields we have, the better, especially in a deck that draws quite a bit, so it's actually pretty solid. I think this is going to be kind of mandatory as a 4-of, just so that way you can keep like having 10k shields in hand, and because you can recycle them, that also helps in the long run, so very useful card overall. Up next, we got Luminosity Wizard. I almost said Angel. Generation Break 1, Ritual 3. If these unit was placed during this turn, this unit gets plus 10, so that's pretty amazing. 18k booster. I'm like, okay, bet. Then auto, when this unit is retired from Rearguard Circle during a turn, if you got a Luard Crest, you may Soul Charge 1, then choose one of your Vanguards and it gets plus 5. I don't know if you can go for the Soul Charge or not, and then still get the plus 5. Let me know in the comment section if you could choose not to Soul Charge, but then still get the plus 5. But either way, it's not terrible. Like, you'll probably run it specifically because of the plus 10 benefit, and just being able to search it off the stride skill also helps. Then we got a grade 3 that no one really cares too much about. I don't see myself running it personally. During a turn, Ritual 3 GB2, this unit gets plus 10, and then when it's discarded for hand for the cost of stride, you may draw one. So I don't know, maybe not that great. Then we get to the real meat and potatoes of this whole thing. Drag Driver Luard. Auto on Vanguard Circle, Ritual 3. When this unit attacks, Counterblast 1 to the G unit face up. Search your deck up to one unit card with the ritual ability, call it to rear, shuffle the deck. Oh boy, that's actually not terrible. That's actually very solid. In case for some odd reason you can't commit to a Morpheso turn, but you have enough for Dagda, you can just technically search this off of the Drag Driver, so that's actually pretty fucking good. And presumably, Morpheso is also going to have the ritual ability, so we'll have to wait till next Thursday before we get that revealed, but yeah, no, this card is actually very solid. Like, I think there's going to be a reason why you actually go into it immediately, and who knows, like, maybe you'll see this in premium as well. Like, honestly, I can definitely see it, because then at that point, you're not really committing too much to it, and you still generate 4 attacks, bare minimum with it, so hopefully Morpheso gives us a 5th attack, because otherwise Luard, in comparison to Shiranui, just ain't looking good. I mean, we're still in a losing battle anyway because they have 7 attacks, but like, honestly, Drag Driver is actually pretty solid. So overall, for Standard, I think this is actually very solid. A lot of the reveals that we got actually really do help out the deck with not only the consistency, but also just being able to produce really solid numbers, even without like the Crest power right away. So it actually does make up for that fact. I am curious to see what Drag Strider is going to do next week. Hopefully that it actually, makes the deck even better than what we already have. And hopefully it's not one of those strides that you only go into very situationally. Hopefully, universally, it's just as good, if not slightly better than Drag Driver. But in general, for Standard, you're eating good. Like, honestly, there's a lot of interesting grade 1 cards you could technically tech into the list. I will make a video for that later, but only after once we get all the reveals, so just keep that in mind. Honestly, for Standard though, again, essentially there are a lot of tech cards you can throw in, but there are a lot of really good generic staples already pre-built into the Stride deck set, and I would strongly recommend picking up your grade 1 staples as soon as possible. So the main 2 that I'm thinking of right out the gate, possibly 3, is Painkiller Angel, Wayward Therapy Angel, and the Topaz from set 12. So definitely should pick up a few copies of those in particular. I think for Painkiller you can get away with like maybe 2 or 3. The Topaz you definitely just maybe want as like a 2 of at most, because you're only going to be able to activate the effect maybe once per game, twice if you re-ride. But the reason why I'm saying for Wayward Therapy Angel is technically you can use this when you activate Leofall and then get an instant +1 on the board. And that's actually not too terrible. So you discard Wayward Therapy, call the Leofall, and then you get to activate Wayward Therapy to call itself out. So that's actually pretty solid. And then that's on top of having the Stride skill. So ultimately in Standard, like, I think it's really beneficial. A lot of this stuff got revealed as soon as it did. Because now I think depending on what they reveal next week is whether or not it's going to be like even more crazy, which it probably will. But let's move on to Premium. So I'm going to be brutally honest with you. I think the Crest is mid until we get our Ride Fixer. So what I mean by this is that every clan over the past year or so has been getting grade 2 Ride Fixers in V that make it so that way you could search the top 5 for a grade 1. So that actually matters because, yeah, because Shadow Paladin doesn't have theirs, we can't directly search for knees off that. And so essentially, we're forced to hard mulligan for it. So if we don't see knees off our initial top 5, we gotta send all 5 back. Otherwise, we don't get the crest at all, and then we have 4 dead cards in the deck. So until we get that ride fixer to make it more consistent, I'm unsure whether or not the crest is actually worth it, specifically for any build that uses V. If you're using the G stuff and only the G stuff alone, absolutely run it. But I do see a world where you're going to be mixing both V and G support. So presumably you're going to run like maybe 2 drag driver from V, the 4 drag heart, maybe even 3 drag heart from V, and then run a mix of the old G Luards from there between the original drag heart and drag fall. But that is the big problem, because the auto skill for it, it does require you to pay the cost for outstriding. And so unless you go into Agnos, you're not going to be able to activate the 4th effect. So yeah, I don't know. Like, to me, it's kind of mid. At least until we get our ride fixer, assuming we get our ride fixer. Because knowing Bushiroad, they may just release in Japan and never give them to us in English. Hopefully they do, because if not, I'm going to be crying. And then for Drag Driver, because out of all the other support that I see here outside of the Crest Bearer, it's kind of like whatever in Premium in particular. But Drag Driver is actually not terrible. Like, in case for some odd reason you can't go into Morfessa right away without committing too much from hand, Drag Driver is a nice alternative, especially if you push your opponent to 4 or 5 damage already. For some ungodly reason, you've managed to pull that off. So essentially what you can do is you'll swing rear, swing Dagda. Dagda's effect calls another card out. Swing with the other rear. Swing driver. Activate driver's effect to call Dagda out. And then, bare minimum, you get 6 attacks. If you hit a stand, you get 7. So that's actually really solid. Whether or not, you know, Morfessa from D-Series will actually make an impact in the list overall, that has to be yet to be seen, but based off what I'm seeing here, it may not actually be worth it. It also helps that we can technically tutor out for a grade 2 at the very least, because we can just search for Blaster Dart off of Domput, assuming we run 4 of the V-Series domain. So either way, like, it's not terrible, but I am going to need to see the rest of the reveals before I can finally say, okay, this is actually beneficial. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Until next time, this is Noah, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye, everyone.